Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want to render this out. I've kind of loaded up my textures and I loaded them up so that there's a bump map down in here. I can maybe put on a little bit of specular or something like that to see if that works with my bump really well. Actually, that one should be up, something like that. And what else am I going to do? Anything exciting? Let's keep this up like this. La la la. There's something wrong with this one. I'm just going to wait and see if this becomes an exciting tutorial for problems. I'm just going to select these other pieces here, and I'm going to assign a Arnold bloop, standard on them. And just for the hell of it, I'm going to play with the presets. All you have to do is go up here to presets and right click, and you got a whole schwack of presets. I'm going to put the chrome on and see what that looks like. Actually, maybe the chrome will be too strong. What if I do... you know what? I'm a fan of the ceramic. And by the way, here, I'll move this over so you can see this. Presets, ceramic, replace, and that's going to replace it 100%. Or you can blend it with other ones and see what comes up and see if you find something you like. That's going to be fine for me. Okay, and I need to create a plane. So I'm just going to go in here to plane. Whoop. Scale this up, make it big. I think I got V-Ray materials on everything except for maybe the box. Okay, and sometimes I'll zoom this up, and there, that should be more than enough. I've got a very large scene. I should have been working small. And I'll just quickly pop on, assign new material. And by the way, if you want the Arnold material to pop up all the time in your favorites, you can just right-click and add to favorites. And I got some kind of weird warning. Okay, whatever, I don't care. I'll say that's good enough for now. Actually, just hold on a second while I'm in here. Okay, that shouldn't be Lambert 1. Favorites, AI standard. Okay, cool. And presets, not going to do Chrome. Let's do some kind of other AI wheels. Plastic toy soldier. Okay. So, got everything ready, and I got my animation. Nothing really special, but good enough. And I could go in here to view, camera settings, put on the resolution gate, and kind of figure out how I want this thing to look. And I have, which one is it? This one is not bound. So I'm just going to quickly go in here to skin, bind skin, and boom, it's stuck. Okay, great. Let's hide that again. And, bloop. Okay, so, and again, I want to pick out something that's kind of interesting. Actually, what I should be doing here is I should actually go in here and create a panel's new camera. And with this new camera, let's give it a name. Let's call it Shot Cam. Okay, great. And I'll go into that one and I'll go to camera settings. We'll put on the resolution gate. And actually, even before I do that, I should go into the render settings and make sure I know what my resolution gate is. I'm on V-Ray. I gotta switch over here to Arnold renderer. And in the common, I'm going to just use, let's go down here to HD 720. Okay, great. And we'll close that up. I'll come back to that one. But I'll try and figure out something that looks interesting with the animation. Okay, something like this, maybe. Okay, cool. And now, I want to render with Arnold. So, if I go to Arnold and I go to render, there's Arnold render view, which is going to open up the Arnold render view, and it doesn't render. Okay? If I go here to Arnold and I hit render, it opens up the render view. It sits there and converts any of my texture files. I've got some TIFF files. I'm not crazy about TIFFs. I actually like Targas. I tend to find Targas are more reliable. And that's why I think that white thing is down there. I think it's because I got a TIFF. We'll see what happens when I render. Okay, so it's actually, by the way, it's converting them to TX files or text files. Okay, and I don't see anything happening. Now, with this render view, maybe I shouldn't have rendered it that large. but we'll be okay. There's a little play button is on right now, and it's continually trying to render, so I'm going to hit stop. Because I know that nothing's going to happen. Come on, go away. Okay. Nothing is going to happen because I need some lights. I'm going to go in here to lights, and I'll get, say, an area light. Okay. I'll make it a bit bigger so you can see it easier. Now, Arnold's area lights. By default, if I go and I render again, nothing is going to happen. Okay, we're not going to see anything. I'm just going to hit escape. Stop. Stop. Just stop. Okay, it stopped. Now nothing's going to happen because it starts off with as an exposure of 0. And that 0 is kind of like a drop-off or almost like a decay of sorts. If I bring this up, I'm going to bring it up beyond 5. Let's bring it up to 10. Okay, and now let's render using Arnold Render. Get anything? Still don't get anything. They kind of do this combination between exposure and intensity. If I bring up my intensity, oh, I'm starting to see something. Okay, so my exposure, again, I've got a fairly large scene. So my large scene, starting to slow down. Actually, is my music too loud? Okay. Okay, so the exposure, let's put it up, say 20. Come on, you bastard! Okay, suddenly, boom, I start seeing something. So you get to play a little bit with exposure and intensity. Okay, and what else is going on here? With Arnold, by default, it's also doing a global illumination. Okay, and right now that's really, really, really slow. Here, I'm just going to close this down for a second while I figure stuff out. If I go into the render settings, in the Arnold renderer section, there's this diffuse, and that's your global illumination. If you turn that down to 0, you can go a little bit faster. You're going to lose some of that kind of bounce fill light. But this might go a bit faster. Actually, I almost might go faster if I went into, let's see, can I do it here? Holy cow, this is going so slow. If I go in here, do I have a quick one to go in and change the size of this? No, I do not. I have that in the other render view. Anyway, now that I got this, if I go here to window, I can put on 3D manipulation. Sometimes I find this kind of interesting. You can move around your window, and you'll see it'll move around the camera in the background too. You know what? I've made this far too large. This is going way too slow. Recording the screen and doing this at the same time. There's the render settings. Okay, just hold on a second. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to stop this. Cursor, stop. Okay, great. Common. And for doing demos, this was absolutely ridiculous. Let's just make that stinking small. Okay, and I'm going to close this down. I'll reopen it again. Bloop. There, so small. And I think you can also see that the resolution has gone down. If I hit 1 to 1, you can see it's really tiny. And as I rotate around here, it... I thought I hit render. Okay, it doesn't seem to be updating now. It doesn't like me anymore. Well, anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this down, and I'm going to position my light. When I'm positioning the light, I've got a couple of different choices. There's, but I guess actually, I guess in this case here, what I'm going to use look through selected, panels, look through selected, and I can look through my light. If I select something and I hit F, I can frame it, and you'll find it'll move a little bit better. We have a problem. Again, I've got a large scene, so if I go in here and I look, and I've got my, let's go here to select camera. That's actually selecting my light. I just take the near clipping plane and I put it to 1. And I put a couple extra zeros on the far clipping plane. I should be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, cool. Where the hell's that box? That box is over there. Okay, so we'll put it up here someplace, say. And I'll call that good. So I can kind of judge what I'm going to do. And if I go back to my cameras here, let's see, perspective view. Actually, I want to go here to shot cam. And I'll go in and I'll hit Arnold render. Okay, and I should be able... Why isn't that updating? What did I do wrong? Just press the update button. I guess it's because I pressed stop and then it stopped. Okay, so if I do this, okay, now it's all fine and dandy. Here, we'll make this a bit smaller. Okay, cool. And so as I update, it will update here. Okay, and I can kind of see how this box is going to work. Looks like my clipping plane on this camera is a little bit foobarred. So I'm just going to go in here to Camera Attribute Editor, and I'm going to give that a couple more zeros. Okay, now I'm happier. Okay, and if I want to select my light again and do some work with it, it's over here someplace. If I can't see it, I can go into Arnold, and there's in the utilities, there's a thing called the Light Manager. And I can select my light, and I can play with this intensity and exposure here. This is taking up far too much visual real estate. Okay, and so we already know about there's color, there's intensity, the exposure. If I bring that up a bit, maybe that's too hot. I seem to notice it gets sensitive really fast because it is the drop-off, essentially. Okay. And, okay, hope nothing crashes when I'm doing this. So, got the light. I might want to put some other kind of light in here. So I can go and create a directional light. The nice thing about the Light Manager is it only creates the Maya lights that you can actually use with Arnold. Okay, so I just created a directional light. And I'm just going to make it bigger so I can see it. Whoop! And when I rotate it around, well, I guess we do see something out of it. Okay, cool. I'm just going to go into the attribute editor for it. And what do we got here? One thing I don't like is I don't like how it's emitting a specular. I can turn that off. Okay. I can go into the shadows section and make it so there's no shadows coming off of this thing. And I'm still getting shadows. Actually, oh, I'm smoking crack. I gotta go into the Arnold section and I gotta turn off cast shadows. Okay. So some of these settings up here will work, like the emit specular. But then in cast shadows and some other things like the samples, if I was getting noisy shadows, I think I have to go back to this one here is giving me a noisy shadow. So what if I go to the area light and I look for the samples and I bring this up? That'll start to clean up that noise. It should clean up that noise. Or is there another one that I'm missing? Shadow color, shadow density. Okay, and I can crank that up in the render settings too. Okay, there it is, cleaning up, just kind of slowing down a bit. So the directional is over here, and it's... Come on! I turned up the samples too high on the area light. Just by going in here and giving it a little bit of an angle, I can also take this light, and if I increased its exposure, it's actually at nothing right now, I can get a little bit of a nice... Trying to zoom in a bit. A little highlight on the sides of this thing. Okay. And I could also, if I really wanted to, let's see if I can do this. My cursor, what time are we at? We were 14 minutes. Holy cow, this goes slow when I do this crap. Here, I'm just going to stop that. And if I take the light and I take the ground, I can zip over into the rendering section. In lighting and shading, I can break the light lengths. Bloop. And if I do a refresh on that, boop, we'll see that that directional light no longer lights the ground. Only the area light is. And so I get something a bit more interesting looking. Okay, so it looks like this is, how many other lights do I want to put in? I could put another kind of a fill light in here, but we're already getting that from the global illumination. So maybe in this case I'll only do 2 light sources, just to be quick. And anything else I got to worry about? I think this is going to be good. I'm going to go back into my render settings here, and I'll just go to the Arnold renderer. Let's bring that diffuse back up to 2. If you're getting a really noisy render, I would probably start bringing the camera AA up, but this is going to increase your render time. But let's just see what happens. I'll go in here and I'm going to do a render with it. And is there anything else in here? I'm going to change the common. We'll go back here. I like the 720 because it looks cooler. And I'll go over and hit Arnold render. Okay, and if I hit 1:1 here, it'll make my image bigger. Okay, come on. So slow. Hold on a second, it's acting stupid. I'm gonna stop it. I'll make this bigger. There. Okay, so it's auto framing to it. Some little white lights are coming from the render settings in the Arnold renderer too. Okay, I might have to go in and bounce up some of these, but we'll call this good for now. And what am I going to do? I want to render this out, so I'm going to hit escape and I'll stop this. Come on. There. The final steps to getting this out. If I go in here to common, currently this is going into my claw project, going to the images folder. It's going out as EXR files. I could do that, but I'm trying to avoid that information right now about EXRs. EXRs are the way to go. But let's just throw on a PNG. Okay, and I'm going to take the PNG and I'm going to change this frame. Oh, let's check this, and we'll call this Clawmation. Okay, and I'm going to go down here to name number extension, and I'm going to do, name extension. I'm going to change it from single frame to name number extension. And I've got 110 frames. Okay, cool. And I want to go from the renderable camera, I want to go to the shot cam. Got HD 720. Anything else I want to change in here? Sometimes I notice the bucket size. If you do it at 32, it works better. Okay. I'll leave this off. Okay, I'll leave all those other things alone. And I'm just going to shut this down. And I'm going to go and save this. So I'll quickly do a quick save scene as, and I'll say 11, just in case I crash doing something right now. I feel sketchy. And to render, I go into the render section, and there's a batch render, which you would typically use. But in this case, we're using render sequence because we're in Arnold. And if I hit render sequence, we should see the render view pops up. La, 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 la. It says down here rendering master layer. Actually, I didn't put anything extra on there, did I? No. We're just waiting a second while it's doing its little thing. See the spinning wheel of death. I'm not crashing, it's rendering. Okay, and right now we're seeing it go through the sequence, and it's doing the little render buckets. Okay, and I think I did crank up my AA samples quite a bit. But you can see it's rendering, and we can see down there frames, it's on frame 1. It's going to take a little while to go through this. So remember, you don't want to try to finish all this stuff like an hour beforehand and try to render. You want to get rendering done a couple days ahead of time. The next step is going to be relatively quick, but I'm going to let this render out, and I will stop this video here. Oh my god, it's taking a little bit for my cursor to get over to the stop button. Stop, stop, stop.